You're probably somewhat familiar with the concept of citation, and some of the reasons there's an emphasis on citation in academic writing. Here, we're going to quickly cover the basics of how to reference other sources in the body of your own writing. This writing skill is formally called in-text citation, and we'll be discussing how in-text citation is done using the APA style. Then, once we've covered the how-to basics, we'll spend a little time discussing the reasoning and importance behind citation and why it's beneficial for you to take citations seriously in your own writing. Let's get started. In-text citations are indicators in the body or text of academic writing that inform the reader where the writer is drawing their information from whenever they're presenting information that isn't their own. In-text citations usually appear as a parenthetical reference that most often contains the name of the author or authors being referenced, and a year or page number, or sometimes both. The in-text citation has two functions. First, it functions as a map, directing the reader to the source of the information being conveyed. First to the reference page on the article itself, and second to the original source that the author is referencing in their article. So you want to be sure whenever you reference something in the text of your paper, that you include a full reference in your references section, so your reader can find the exact source you're drawing your information from. The second function of an in-text citation is to convey information about the source being referenced. These little citations may not seem like they convey a lot of information, but they can potentially tell the reader a few important things. In the case of APA style, the citation tells the reader who is responsible for publishing the information and when. These two pieces of information are prioritized in the APA style because the name of the researcher might be familiar to the readers of a scientific journal if they're well known in the field or specialty, and because in science, generally the more recent the information you're referencing is, the more relevant it will likely be to the scientific discussion currently happening in the field about the topic. The citation can tell the reader whether the writer is using up-to-date information and whether they're getting it from the leading researchers in the field, all without even having to turn to the references page. Once you've decided what information you're going to share with your readers, you need to indicate to your reader where you got that information by using an in-text citation. Here's how to do that using APA style. For a single author, you're simply going to use the author's last name and a comma followed by the year of publication, as in the example here. And, as you can see, the citation is considered a part of the sentence itself, so regardless of where you insert the parentheses in a sentence, it should be inside the punctuation. A time-saving tip for in-text citations, if you take notes on your sources, and you should, is that you can include an in-text citation parenthesis and copy and paste this citation whenever you use it in your paper. When you use the author's name in the sentence you're writing, you only need to use the year in parentheses, like so. For an article with two authors, you'll provide the last name of both authors separated by an ampersand, the and symbol here, a comma after the second author, and the year of publication, as shown in the example here. For an article with 3 or more authors, you're going to use the first author's last name, just as in the examples above, followed by the Latin abbreviation et al., which means and others, with et meaning and al, period, short for alii, which means others in Latin. After the period, you still need to put a comma between the author and the year, but the principle is the same as with 1 or 2 authors. And for very important points that are key elements of the research, it's a good idea to cite multiple sources to establish a strong basis for the reader to believe that the key points in the research are well supported. Notice how the authors in this example cite multiple research papers to support an important idea in their article. Each citation follows the same format as we've shown above, only here, the authors separate each citation using a semicolon following the year. Beyond these basic guidelines, there are a multitude of specific rules for other less common citation scenarios. This video is just intended to cover the basics and get you started off on the right foot. For cases you may have questions about, please visit the official website for the citation style you're using for cases that aren't as straightforward. All the current information on the official way to cite each type of source will be on the Style Guide's website. In the video description, we've included multiple links to the APA Style's official webpage to help connect you with the appropriate additional information for APA Style citation. Often, instructors and professors will emphasize the importance of avoiding plagiarism when they talk about citation. And yes, it's true. You don't want to steal the ideas of other scholars or get in trouble for plagiarizing. But there's an equally important reason for you to pay attention to citing your sources and being mindful of what sources you're citing. Whenever you write something, especially in STEM disciplines, the reader will always be evaluating what you've written to determine whether your work is valid. In order for your work to be credible, it has to be based on information that is true. One of the most convincing ways you can demonstrate that your work is valid is by basing it on information that was published in reputable scientific journals under the scrutiny of the scientific community. By citing credible sources like peer-reviewed articles, you're able to demonstrate that the information you've based your work on is reliable. Citing sources that are reliable, relevant, and recent will help to lend credibility to your writing. The more effectively you do this, the more credible your work will become. So instead of thinking of citing your sources as a chore or a minor annoyance that keeps your professors happy, try to think of citation as building a solid foundation of credibility that stands beneath your work, with each in-text citation bolstering the information you present, piece by piece, with a rock-solid base of credible knowledge, making everything you write that much more powerful and convincing.